So how do you sew together a part that is flat, say like this guinea corn ear, to the round part of the body that you're wanting to do it? And logically, you could just pin this here and hold it in place and sew as best you could, but you always risk that being crooked, and so my method is always going to be to use pins to keep yourself from doing that. This ear is made over 2 rows. You have a row of SCs with increases, and then you have DCs and SCs that help make the shape and the second row. As a result, you have 5 stitches. So you have 1, 2, the center point always counts as 1, 3, 4, and 5. So if you look at your pattern, you'll see what I'm talking about. But we have 5 stitches across the bottom. So we know that the line that we're going to be sewing across is going to be 5 stitches long. In the case of this pattern, the pattern tells us to put our ears 4 rounds back from our eye and 4 stitches apart in the middle. So what I'm going to do here is kind of eyeball where I want the end of this ear, and so I put this pin here, and then I'm going to count over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that looks pretty even to me, evenly placed between the eyes. So then count down my 5 stitches for my ear. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and place another pin. And do it again here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and place another pin. So there, we've pinned the locations for our straight ears, and now we can sew them on. Thread the sewing end of your ear into your sewing needle, like we have here. And this ear, all of these ears, the lower end is on the outside because guinea pig ears are bigger on the top than they are on the sides. So we want the front of the ear, so the pretty side, this is the ugly side. We want the front of the ear facing forward, and we want the low end on the outside. So this ear goes on this side, like this. And so we're just going to start sewing with our regular mattress stitches. So we take our pin out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, I lost where I put that pin for a second. And go under our first stitch, and then we're going to go under first stitch on the ear. Since these are worked sideways, you're going to go around the whole stitch here on the end of each round. So we're going to go back down the stitch we just came out of, and up, and then come up through the next stitch on the ear. Okay, keeping going, down through the stitch we just came out of, and up, and then up through the center point, of our ear, which is our 3rd stitch in this case. And we're working in a straight line toward that pin. In this case, that's super easy because our ear attachment is in a straight line along one round, so that's always nice. And our last stitch goes to the last pin and comes up through the last stitch of the ear. Now, you don't want to tie this off like this because you'll have a goofy flop here. So what I like to do is go back through that very same stitch again. So here's where we came out of. Back through that same stitch again and come back up 1. So go back along the way that you sewed already by 1 stitch. What that's going to do is this pulls in and down because we sewed it from this end over, and we want this one to pull in and or pull down and toward the middle. So those attachments are nice and even. Then because this color is not the same color as our body, we have 2 choices. We can weave this in on the ear, or we can tie this off as if it is a embroidery piece so that it is hidden. Let's do a combination of the 2. So let's go ahead and weave this in through the ear here. I'm going to weave it all the way around that first. Actually, I think I'm in the 2nd row here. Yeah, I am in the 2nd row. So I'm going to go ahead and weave my end, whoa, all the way through my ear one time to the other side here. And this way I can kind of double secure it. So it secures it within the ear. Let's turn him back over so we can see what we're doing. And then we're going to go back down into the body again and come out. Let's come out right here. See that? Now, to bind off embroidery that's in a different color, we've learned that in a couple other places. In the stitch right next to the one we've come out of, you can see here's a stitch, here's one loop, and here's 2 loops. Okay, we're going to go under 1 loop, being very, very careful not to go through any yarn or grab any extra yarn. We want just the loop, right? Going to pull up our yarn here and tie a knot around that post of that stitch there. Go back in through the stitch you came out of, so the one that's right next to the stitch you're working on, and out any stitch. I usually go a few stitches away. Then when you get to here, before you've pulled it tight, so while you still have a little bitty loop here, pull sharply, and what it's going to do is pull this knot around to the back side of that loop. So ready? Here we go. Nice, right? So we've hidden that knot behind a loop. So now this ear is really on there. We've woven in our end around here, and we've tied off our end on the inside of the work as well. And now all we have to do is just cut this off at the skin, or at the very edge here. Wink. And we have our well-attached bound off ear. So we're going to repeat that on the other side. And that is how you attach flat parts to the outside of round parts. Thanks for watching a Hook by Kati tutorial video. Please click subscribe and click that little bell so you get notifications every time I post a new video. And remember to go to hookbykati.com for more patterns, tutorials, and guides to help you improve your art.